Historical Commission. Sorry about that. I'm Rose Doherty. I'm chair of the Needham Historical Commission, and what I want to do is confirm that all members and guests anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. So can we start with Don Lankowitz?
Here.
Illa Nadia?
Here.
Guest Hank Haff?
Yes, here.
Okay. Riccardi?
Here.
Okay. Deborah Robinson? Please just say yes or wave or something.
You're muted.
On mute, or we can't hear you.
Okay, I see you waving. Gloria?
Hi.
Okay. Are we expecting, yes, we are expecting someone else. And, okay, there we are.
Yeah, Dan said he needed a couple. There he is. Owner. That's a good tag.
You like that? I like owner. Okay, so let me start with the preliminary statement that this is an open meeting of the Needham Historical Commission, and it's being conducted remotely as consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th because of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. And for this meeting on December 13th, 2021, the Needham Historical Commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Now, there are a few rules. The meeting is being recorded, and all of us are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that people are able to see you, and also take care not to screen share your computer. The recording of this meeting is a public document, and anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All the supporting materials have been provided to members of this body. They are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. So here are the ground rules. We'll turn first to the beginning item on the agenda, and I will introduce each item on the agenda, and I will go down the line of members.
Using the wrong microphone. Using the microphone.
Hello. Do I have a problem? No. Okay. We will ask that people identify themselves clearly so that we can have good minutes. I'll introduce each item on the agenda, and after we have some remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions or motions. And please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and remember to speak clearly. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. And I would imagine that everyone on this call could actually do this without looking at my notes the way I did, because we've all had Zoom up the wazoo, right? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do this evening is thank Hank Haff for making it possible for us to have Ms. Robinson, I'm sorry, I'm old fashioned, Deborah Robinson, and owner, whose name escapes me because it just says owner, to come and talk with us about the schematic design of the Emory Grover building. And we would like to talk with both the building design department and the design and construction department and with the architects involved in this. So I'm going to let you lead off because you're the ones who have lots of things to say to us. Who is first? Hank, is that you or?
Madam Chair, if I might, I'll just introduce others. Dr. Gudekanst is joining us only briefly to begin the meeting, and then Deborah Robinson will take us through a slideshow, and she'll share her screen as we go through that slideshow, and then end with any Q&A. So Dan, would you like to start?
Sure. Thanks, Hank. And Madam Chair and members of the Historical Commission, I'm actually attending a METCO board meeting where I'm the superintendent representative to the METCO board, and I stepped out so I could join the beginning of this meeting for two reasons. First of all, a hearty and heartfelt thank you for the Historical Commission's support of the EG project over the last many years. In particular, with great thanks to Gloria for her guidance and advice and leadership. We're very, very excited about this project. We believe it's the right thing to do for school administration and operations, as well as the community. And we're just really tickled and excited that we can get going with renovating this building in the center of town and really continue to make the community proud. The second thing I wanted to mention is that I appreciate we've got a great designer, BH+A. They have done work like this before. And although this project is going to be very different than Town Hall, Town Hall, there were a lot of historical renovations to the interior of the building. We won't be doing that at Emory Grover. This is essentially a gut renovation where we're only preserving the floors. Because they're really, unfortunately, there's nothing really of value in the interior to save. However, the exterior of the building, the edifice, we're really excited about the ideas that you may generate and that the architect can consider to make it a great project. So I want to give my thanks. I look forward wonderful ideas that folks will suggest, and then we'll put those together and sort out what will make sense, what's affordable, what can fit within the footprint of the building. We'll focus on that historic renovation of the edifice of the building, and then we will also, and I certainly will, look forward to connecting with you again to give you updates. And then when we finally have that ribbon cutting ceremony, making sure that you're all front and center. So again, with thanks, unless there are any specific questions for me, I'll bow out and head over down the hall to my next meeting.
We wish you well, and we are thrilled to be supportive of this project. We really want this to happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, and now, yes, Gloria. Gloria, did you raise?
No, I was just waving by.
Oh, very nice of you. And we also have Mark Dorfman with us. Good, excellent. That is wonderful. Okay, can we move on then? Deborah Robinson, would you tell us the wonderful things that you have planned?
Great, thank you. I'm Deborah Robinson from Bargman Hendry Plus Archetype. I'll be the project manager for the renovation of the Emory Grover building. And let me share my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
You're all set now, Deborah.
You're all set. You should be able to do it now.
Okay, I will hopefully share only my screen I want to share. Is everybody seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay, so We're very excited that this project is, oops, let me just finally getting going for the Emory Grover building. Let me give you, to start off with, the timeline in the schedule, and the point to make here in showing this first is just that it is a very aggressive schedule for getting this building designed and then constructed. So what's really important, and one of the reasons we wanted to meet with you early on, is so we'll get a sense of which of the issues you are going to be most interested in, and that we'll be having to come back and talk to you about. So what we would like to do as a result of this meeting would be to have a plan and think about when we would need to meet with you again in the course of the process. So you all probably are very familiar with what has happened regarding this project so far. We did a study just to bring it up to the current date. As of December 2021, the town has applied for the CPA funding package, $6 million for this project for historic preservation, which would cover the exterior, the interior renovations, the code upgrades, the accessibility. And we've started design. We'll be working on the design until about March 2022, at which point we're going to get a very important cost estimate that will be used for going to town meeting in May and asking for the money that will be appropriated for the construction phase. We'll then be continuing on into the detailed construction documents through the summer, from May until about November. Then the project will go out to bid. The plan would be that for a year from now, in December, winter break of 2022, the school administration would be able to move out of the building into Hillside, and we will be able to start construction, and construction will take about 18 months on this project. So I'm guessing we will be meeting with you again during this design phase, and that will be something we'll want to think about. Before we get into some of the details, just to stand back and say, as Dan said, it's great that this project is being renovated. It's been a long time coming, and just the fact that it will be worked on and retain its use really saves it, because otherwise, who knows what could happen. The renovation will be accomplished without a large addition in the back, and this is the result of quite a bit of study and looking at a building with an addition, and realizing as we sharpen our pencils that it can be done without a large addition. The building currently is not accessible at all. This project will make it comply with the accessibility criteria in Massachusetts. There'll be an elevator, there'll be a ramp getting in, and all of the other accessibility items that are required by the Commonwealth. Some of the systems in the building, as we know, will be updated to work. Code compliant stairs, in addition to the elevator. The current stairs are unsatisfactory. Everything will be brought up to code for egress. The front of the building, we're thinking, will be free of parking. And as part of this, we'll be complying with the energy code. So energy efficiency for windows, for insulation, for the systems in general. The history, we have these slides. We have to put these slides in when we do any presentation. You all know all of this, the history of the building. I won't read through the items, but we know how important it is as a building, as a piece of architecture, as a piece of the history of the town of Needham, being the high school, and everybody who has been involved in it. What we find in researching the building, there are some drawings, there are also lots of old photographs and postcards that do give us some information regarding what maybe was there that's been lost, and what's there now that maybe is not original. One of the most important slides I think I have in here is reiterating the importance and what that means in terms of the review process. So it is listed as an individual building on the National Register of Historic Places. So it's historic for purposes of complying with with the building code, with energy codes. In terms of the review process for CPA funding, our understanding is that your group and the town CPC group are the ones who review that. The Massachusetts Historic Commission does not need to review this project unless there's any other state or federal funding involved. The approach to the exterior of the building will be to preserve as best we can the original material that remains. And we'll look at some of those materials, starting with the front entrance. As a functional matter, the front entrance is not accessible. It's about a 7.5 foot ascent up those front stairs to the door. So it's not feasible to put a ramp or an elevator here. So what we propose to do would be to use the north portico as it is used now as the main entrance, but we will make this fully accessible. So there'll be the two sets of stairs you see at the west side, at the north side, and then from the parking lot side, we will create a ramp that comes up into that portico. This red line is showing how we would need to cut a bit of that low wall in order to fit the ramp in. At the back of the building, one of the elements that we think might get some modification is these blank windows at what had been the original stage. And for the moment, we're showing putting possibly a conference room at this space. It could be offices, it could be some other use, but for the program that's going in this building, the spaces want to have windows. So the thought is we can transform at least some of these blank windows into real glazed openings. There's some other interventions that have happened over time, some of which were repairs. This metal that had been applied to the masonry as a support. We'll look at some of those kinds of elements and see if we can return it to its original condition. Windows are always a big item on a project like this. The windows in this building are painted wood, operable, double hungs, and some other window types. It's really amazing to see original operable individual divided light windows in a building like this that is still remaining. And what we'll be doing is matching all of the sight lines, matching all of the profiles in new windows that will be energy efficient, where all of the paint on the windows and some of the other elements inside the building contain lead. It's really infeasible to keep that and remove the lead. In many cases, the best solution is to replace in kind. So we'll be looking at new windows that return to the original appearance, no air conditioners, no little black flappy panels, but we can match all of the profiles. The masonry, the brick is really a wonderful yellow brick that is in very good condition. So that will be retained. There is some open joints that will be repointed. So there'll be some masonry restoration scope as part of the project. At the roof, the slate that is there is a black slate that we will be looking to match in kind. We will be probably replacing this copper skylight that looks quite old, replacing the copper gutters that are clearly beyond their useful life. Many of these items look to be original to the building. Some of the other items on my list of roofing issues that will be topics for discussion. There were the balustrades on the porticos and at the top of the roof that were there originally. We'll look into the feasibility of replacing those. And this is just showing the wear on the copper, that this is really at the point where it needs to be replaced, but this can be matched in kind quite easily. At the soffits, you can see at most of the perimeter of the building, there's this metal cover that got put on. We don't know the exact reason. We're guessing it's just deteriorated wood that we'll find behind it, but we will match the profile of the soffit, whether that's in wood or a more maintenance-free kind of material that looks just like wood. Mechanical systems. These are some photos of what's there that is on the outside of the building. The intent will be to put as much of the mechanical equipment as we can, and it should be most of it at the interior, probably in the attic spaces. There will be some louvers that will be needed, and we will try and reuse existing masonry openings where we need to put louvers. At the interior of the building, as Dan mentioned, the approach is that this will be a gut. The interior finishes that you see are in many cases not original. There have been all kinds of partitions that have been added to what was originally sort of larger open spaces, and now it's many smaller offices. The basic structure of the building, the wood framing, the masonry vent shafts are intact and are in good condition. So the bones of the building are there. It's just a matter of removing the finishes, the carpet, the acoustic ceiling tile, and as we do a new layout, provide some kind of a nice new open feeling modern interior that's suitable for the school administration function. The stairs in the building are not code compliant for purposes of egress, and that has to be fixed for compliance with the building code. These photos just show that over the years, the structural condition of the stairs has also been an issue. There's all kinds of propping up and hanging down to keep the stairs intact, and the stairs are not really in very good condition as well. But the code requirement will be for an enclosed stair to meet the building code requirements. These concept plans are working thoughts as of right now. These are showing our recent reconsideration of the program, where we were able to remove the large addition that previously had been considered for the back. The lower level with offices, support staff. The first floor here showing how the ramp would come from the parking in some form. We might enclose the entry portico. There'll be an entrance. There are several feet up from the entry level to the main floor level, and where both of those need to remain as they are, the solution is to put an elevator. So you come in one end, you go up, you get up to the main floor level, and that elevator. So this is the place that works for the elevator, to have it as close to the entrance as possible, so we can have that flush accessible entry condition and then get people up to the higher level. We're trying to keep as much as possible of the basic structure of the layout of the spaces and have a very simple, clear layout to the interior. Here you can see how the staircase becomes enclosed. Then at the second floor level, some of the larger spaces, a larger meeting room. And then at the third floor, we will reintroduce the ability to use the attic space for some program for the school administration. So the elevator that I just showed you in the plan, it comes up right about at this point at the roof. So there might be some dormer added, which could be clad in copper or with slate to try and minimize its prominence at the exterior. In terms of the site, what this photo is showing is that there is this parking area in front that's usually filled with cars that block the view of the front facade of the building. But as we've all seen in so many of the older photos, the original condition was not parking in front, that there was a drive and there was a lot of grass at the front of the building. So this site plan that is not complete yet, we're still working on this, but what this is showing is that the drive from Highland Avenue will continue to the back, to the property next door, into the parking lot, and there'll be a much used access to get back here. This ramp from the accessible parking spaces up into the main entry portico. There'll be an accessible walkway from Highland Avenue that we haven't really designed yet. The grass, and then from the south portico, which is a secondary egress, emergency egress out of the building, there'll be another path out to the back to the parking lot. And just had to put in some more of the images that I found. Many of these just Google searches, so the source is not necessarily known, but I just wanted to go through that quickly just so that we'd have time to discuss the items that you all are interested in talking about. And I can go back to any of these slides if you'd like.
Okay, thank you very much. This is exciting. Are there questions that other folks have?
Rose,
Yes.
it's
Hello,
Laura. I'm sorry to
Yes.
be late to the meeting.
You're only half here.
I'm
If you
what?
would- If you're only half here, if you would tip your
Oh,
screen,
okay. Yeah,
thank
of
you.
course. Hold on one sec. Sorry.
But what is your question? I'm sorry, that's much more.
No, my question was about so that on the, can you see me better now?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So is it Deborah? I'm sorry,
Yes.
I came in late. Deborah, so that was really interesting. Thank you. And I have a question on the very top in the front where they have those two dormers and then that odd thing in the middle there.
The circle.
Yeah. So I find that whole grouping doesn't really go very well. This is just my opinion with like the facade. It's not the same material. I think the dormers are look like they belong on a house, not a. Is there any, I don't know if anyone else feels that same way or if this was ever discussed, but is that whole thing going to stay the way it is?
That is original. I mean, it's blocked up, so it's looking a little less compatible than it might otherwise. But and one image I thought of putting in this show and I didn't, was we have the original drawing of the front elevation that actually shows something that's a little bit different than this. But originally, this had a clock in it. And that's in some of the earlier photos that I had at the beginning. Those
That makes sense.
dormers provide nice light into that attic space. There are dormers in front and dormers in back. And it really makes that quite a nice open sunlit space in what is now the attic.
Yep. No, I see that. It's just
So
that to me, they don't seem to go with the rest of the materials wise or shape wise. They don't seem to go with the rest of the facade. So I didn't know if that was something anyone else looked at or cared about, or it's just me. But thank you.
Okay, yes, Hank.
Yeah, if I may, right in that photograph there, those windows are boarded up where there's a plexiglass sheet over it that once the actual windows are put back into those openings, I think it will look a little bit better because there'll be some relief against that facade. The reason that there are three dormers is because there are two trusses, one on either side of the center dormer, that hold up that floor, utilizing the roof structure. And we will be retaining those roof trusses on the third floor as part of the overall renovation.
Mhm. Good, may I say. Yes, Don.
Will there be the clock?
We have not talked about reintroducing the clock. Hank, maybe you know of some discussion that I am not aware of, but we haven't.
We don't believe that the original clock is underneath what's covered up there. And quite frankly, I think it will, well, we may be able to reintroduce a shape. The cost of reintroducing the clock will really depend upon how the budget, what the budget will afford us to do. So that is still an unknown, and also unknown if the clock still exists or where it exists. We do have photos of it.
Gloria, go ahead.
Here we go.
I have the clock.
You have the clock?
We have the clock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's at the Historical Society. So that actually was, my question is actually about the front entrance.
Okay.
I know in you in the presentation, you said that that's still under discussion, how that's gonna be handled. But since it's such a prominent feature of the facade, I'm assuming that, whether it's actually an open door or, a closed door, it's gonna retain pretty much its current structure.
Well, I'll start by saying there are ways to let it be an open door, but I think
You could get a, you could
what's
get
being
a
dictated by the
starting
program here and the space needs and the fact that space is really at a premium inside the building, and because of the fact that functionally the intent is to have only one entrance, so it could be a supervised entrance. I want to click back into the plan, but with the north entrance, and there'll be a receptionist right there, so people couldn't get in through a second entrance in the building is important to the school administration.
Mhm.
So for that reason, the intent is to not have this be an operable door.
Yeah, I mean, you could get a historic exception for it, but I agree, you don't want
Right, I mean,
that many actual functioning entries
we
in the
can-
building.
right, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
variance process to say that it's infeasible to do that, and we have another accessible entrance. But it's the use of the space that's dictating
Well,
that is not.
Well, the greater concern is that it's gonna still look like that from the exterior.
What we're showing on the plan is actually filling it in
That's what it looked like.
and making a space, a usable space in there. So this as an intervention in that plane or slightly in front of or slightly behind that plane is something that will take a lot of study to find the right treatment that that looks good in the building.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very important element of the facade. It's obviously the most obvious feature of it.
And obviously, the approach would be to do something that's reversible. So we wouldn't, as part of this, remove the steps or remove the mosaic that's at the floor level here. That we would do something that retains that and builds on top of it.
Yes, Jeff.
Hank, question on the third floor. Is that and the trusses, are the trusses similar to town hall's architectural structure, like and they're ornamental as such, or are they just kind of structural beams that are not worthy of exposure?
We don't have a picture of them here. Actually, are floor to ceiling. The reason that they were put in, the bottom chord of the truss is actually supporting the attic floor. So they have tie rods and two tent-like structures that are fully exposed within that attic space. And so unlike what you have at Town Hall, you actually walk through and around those trusses. And originally in the high school, when it was first built, that was the chemistry room. And they had tables in the middle of it. So they're very much a part of the architecture, and I think they will likely need to be reinforced, and we'll have to analyze how to make them protect them from fire. The full building will have to be sprinkled. But it's, so to answer your question, no, you actually walk between them.
Oh, cool. That's interesting. Are they kind of beams of the same kind of structure, meatiness of Town Hall like that? Seem to be like
They're
8x8s or.
They're actually bigger. I think they're probably 14 by 10s or something like that.
And to make them fire resistant, like if you had to do a Town Hall, is that just a sealer, or paint?
Well, that's one of those details we need to study. And I can't answer that question right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions from anyone? Okay, I am really looking forward to seeing the next steps that you take to make the facade look beautiful. And I think you've also got some ideas about how the back will look better and how the parking works is something that I'm sure you're also going to be studying. What are the number of spaces that are required for the building of this size? Do you know that offhand?
Hank, do you have
think-
that number in your head?
Yeah, I think in the back we have 56 spaces.
Okay, thank you.
When we eliminated that wing, that enabled us to maintain, in essence, the entire parking lot in the back. So also with the greater efficiency in terms of utilization of the space, is 56 the right number? I think it is. We are hoping that we don't have to rely on Stephen Palmer from a zoning code point of view. And so we're looking into that.
57,
Oh, 57,
is
okay.
what I count.
The other minor thing is that there is a loading dock. And so there will need to be an attachment to that southeast corner of the building that will enable, which will have its own small lift of some sort, which will enable loading supplies to come into the basement level of the building.
So this little piece right here is the addition.
And so I know that BH+A has been able to design, similar very attractive attachments, but that will be a very important functional element of the building.
Will that also be an egress if there is a fire?
It may be one for the basement level only.
Okay,
The two porticos will be the primary means of egress.
okay, excellent, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Rick. Rick? You're
No,
muted.
this is a little bit early in the process, but from a budgetary standpoint, do you have any insight as to what we're going to be talking about in terms of project, the inflation costs. I know when we renovated the high school, it was a time of relatively high inflation and especially like structural steel. And so as we go into the project, that could be an issue. Have you observing anything? It's still early, but in that regard.
Us in the past year or so have just been very, very volatile. Projects that were being bid a year ago now, sort of in the midst of COVID, the contractors were pretty desperate and prices were coming in, bids were coming in very, very low. So we have projects in our office, we have projects that are in construction, and now the contractors are going in to buy out their materials, and inflation has really just hit terribly. And they're saying, please, 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 can you approve this so we can order it tomorrow? Because next week the prices are increasing by 30%. For the material you can get, then there's a lot of shortages of all kinds of materials. But I think the expectation from what I hear is that that's all gonna level out. I mean, that's the prices are gonna be coming back down, and the material availability is gonna solve itself. So
plus we would
I'm
not.
sure that's a question FinCom asked you, huh?
Well, and it's a very difficult one to answer. Fortunately, we will be bidding the project about a year from now. Is that correct? Yeah. And so there is time for the market to market fluctuations, hopefully, to settle out. But we will have two estimators going through and cross-checking the work. Typically the architect has one estimate and we put together another estimate, and those two are reconciled. The other advantage is that we will not have too much steel going into the building, because the intention is to reutilize as much of the wood structure as possible.
Yeah, we want to have enough money in the budget for the clock.
something like the clock has like a friend's gift thing written all over it.
Yeah, assuming I'm willing to give it up.
You'll get some storage space back. I am
Actually, to be honest, and I did my first project at Bergman Henry when I was hired was to do the tower at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and that had 4 clocks on it. And one of the big lessons there is that clock specialists are real artists, and restoring a clock, whether it's just the materials or the workings of the clock, is something that's best left out of the public bidding process, because the people you want to do it are not the people who are going to go bid on something through that process. So if you want to pursue the clock, that would be a good thing to do separately.
mhm.
Did you restore all the inner workings of the Philadelphia clocks?
It was, yes, it was quite something. And we had to refabricate the faces of the clock, because it was determined that they just weren't structurally sound enough to withstand wind loads. So we built a whole stainless steel frame behind new brass letters. It was really a very interesting process, but
Hey, Gloria, do you have all the inner workings?
No, we just have the face.
Great. That's great, because even if you did have all the workings, I would have voted for finding a nice little modern electric computerized motor to put behind there with the original facade,
You
and
Philistine.
hands restored, But
Yeah, no, we have the face, most of the numbers, and none of the workings or the hands.
Okay.
And it's wood, so I wouldn't actually recommend reusing it anyway, but that's
But,
probably for today.
the clock at the First Parish, Jamie's the only one who can kind of fix it, keep it running, and all that, I wouldn't recommend trying. And it never keeps good time.
Okay, I think we are a little bit beyond time, Deborah, but this has been absolutely, it's fascinating. And we know that there will be changes as you move through this whole process and do more investigation of what is underneath there. And I have to say that I'm probably the only person on this call who actually attended classes in that building. Right? I did. Right below the north portico in the basement. But that's beside the point. Deborah, thank you so much. We will have you come back.
Great.
To talk with us about the design development and what you're looking at for costs, because that is something that we will need to get behind. All right. Thank you very much.
Great.
Does anyone have any other questions for Deborah at this point? No. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you certainly may stay and enjoy our meeting if you want, or you may go off and have dinner. It is your choice. Oh,
I have to jump off for another call. Thank you very much.
thank you, man.
Night.
Good night. Good night. All right, now, folks, yes?
I just want to say, for any of those people that hearsay you hear about, when people complain about, projects and how they're managed in a town, Hank is one of the most professional and well-informed town employees. Who's always impressive in every project I've ever seen him present.
That gives me a lot of confidence, and
Here,
so
here, I've worked with them on a couple projects, and that's absolutely the case.
wonderful, wonderful. So we're on our way. And we now need to move to the second item on the agenda, which is the acceptance of prior meeting minutes. And we have quite a few of them. The April and May ones, I listened to the videos and put together what people actually said that moves our whole purpose ahead. June is very much what you saw before, and November is the first set of minutes that Dylan took. Let me ask you whether or not there are any questions about April. No. Okay. In that case, may I have a motion that we accept April?
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. I will say Gloria and Jeff, just because Jeff, your voice came in second. Okay, all those in favor, Don,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
and Laura. And-
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes, so it's unanimous. Any comments on the May minutes? And if none, may I have a motion?
So
Motion
moved.
to approve.
I have no idea what happened there.
Laura got there first, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All righty, and then the June minutes? No comments, in which case a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, I have to do, I should have done this all together, but that really isn't appropriate. Don? for
Yes,
June?
yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes.
Okay, Gloria,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Laura?
Is this the
This is for
the
June.
minutes that I made the motion on, or June?
Yes.
Or
Oh, did we take a vote on May? Help me.
We
Dylan,
didn't vote on May.
we didn't vote on May. Okay, and in fact, that's the one that we had Laura and making the motion and Gloria seconding. So let's go back and once again, guys, sorry about this. Don,
Yes.
Jeff,
Aye.
Dylan,
Yes.
Ariel,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
and Laura.
Yes.
Did you notice that I did the the music for Gloria?
No, I didn't
Didn't
notice
plan
that.
it. Gloria.
It's that time of year.
Yes, it is. Okay, now let's go to June. And I wasn't there, so but Gloria put together a lot of really good minutes. So do we have any comments?
Yep.
No, and if not, may I have a motion to accept the June minutes?
Moved.
Thank you, Gloria. And a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Don. All right, and now we come to a vote. Don,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Laura.
Yes. Oh, I got music
Okay,
this
and
time.
Rose. Yeah, you got some music this time. Okay, so that's unanimous also. And now the November minutes, the ones that we just had. Any comments about the minutes themselves?
No.
Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Gloria.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, and we'll now come to the vote, which is Don,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
and Rose is voting yes. So all four have been accepted unanimously. Excellent. Okay, so now what we need to do is talk about something really exciting, and that is steps for implementing the neighborhood preservation districts. And Laura and Don have been working on this for quite a while and have the steps all in place, and will now take over the meeting.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Okay, thanks, Rose. Kristen, can you put up that document, please?
Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. This document, like a lot of other things that you've received concerning the local historic districts, we're not going to walk through all of the steps, but really focus on that top part, which are things that need to be done first before it's handed over to an appointed local historic district study committee. This would limit what our activity is at the very beginning of it. So the first thing I guess we need to do is first consider what we're going to call this thing. It's called the local historic district here. There's been some discussion about calling it a local preservation district or a local conservation district. So we can get back to that and have that discussion. But once we decide what we want to call this thing, the process begins with some group, a nominating group, presents the nomination to the select board. Now, in this particular case, the examples are given as the American Institute of Architects, Historical Society, Board of Realtors. It could be the Needham Historical Commission. And we serve as the nominating organization, preparing whatever needs to be prepared and presenting it to the board, the select board. The third step really then is what is exactly goes to the select board. So in that case, we would at least perhaps suggest that a subcommittee explore that with perhaps members of the select board or former members of the select board to get some idea of what is the kind of thing they would be looking for and what information would be needed in order for the process to move along. Because once the select board gets it, then it's their responsibility and their duty to create the local historic district study committee, which could be, but not necessarily be, the Needham Historical Commission. It could be made up of independent, totally other people altogether. Just as a point of clarification, underneath the nominating organizations where it talks about a local historic district commission, if one already exists, it's not necessarily that we don't have a local historic district already, but that a local historic district commission is part of the bylaw, which would define who or what the credentials would be for people on that commission.
Who's bylaw, Don?
The bylaw that is created by, or at least proposed by the study committee that would be presented when we go farther down the list.
But that bylaw doesn't exist yet, you're saying?
Correct.
No.
It will be recommended in the study committee's report. So the study committee report, just to put it all together there, is you see it a little ways down there. The preliminary report includes an introduction, methodology, the significance or justification of the boundaries for the historic district, or whatever we call it, recommendations for the bylaw, a map of the proposed district, and a property street address index in the bylaw, including also photographs. So as I say, what we would like to focus on is just that top part where we're looking at what the, if you could just scroll up a little bit there, Kristen. First of all, what do we call ourselves? Secondly, what the determining what the nominating organization would be, and then thirdly, determining what that nomination needs to look like. Laura, did you want to add anything?
I guess just to kind of just add on to what Don said, like for a summary, I think that he and I would like to start this process along with Gloria as needed, if she's willing, if you're willing. I think that we would like to be that subcommittee. If you know, if the group is amenable to that, and you know, I think that's like a really big first step. From there, if everyone's okay with us as the subcommittee, you know, we then can go do a little bit of research, like as Don mentioned, talking to maybe, you know, so former select board people. I mean, this town's never had this before, so I would almost think about contacting another town that already has established one, a similar town, and maybe look into how they went forward with this process. And I think if we can just get to that baseline to start now, that would be a great start.
Wellesley has a lot of documentation about how they went through their process. And a lot of that is online in their historical commission website. I know we talked about
Could you
this.
send us a link, Gloria? Could you send us a link to that?
Yeah, I'll have to find it, but I can send it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that, Jeff. Also, in the document that I compiled, I went to all the towns, the like towns that Rick suggested. I went to Wellesley, I went to Arlington, I went to Lexington, I went to a whole bunch of towns, and that's where I compiled my sort of list of how to go through this process. And so those would be the towns, and I can resend that out.
Yeah, but I wouldn't Gloria, do you know how Wellesley looks upon their local historic district?
What do you mean?
You know, I mean,
You
the
mean-
feedback, the lower fall, the upper falls,
No,
You
I
know,
actually have not talked to anybody in Wellesley about it, so I don't know. I don't know if it's, popular or contentious. That's what I'm assuming you're asking. Is it popular? Is it contentious? I have no idea.
And
I
where
have
some of
real-
the contention might come in is in the design guidelines. And there are probably about 30, 35 examples of those guidelines. I took a look at Dedham's, which would probably be close to what we would be interested in. And there's nothing, Jeff, you bring up that Upper Falls example a lot, and a lot of these guidelines don't really even get into any of that stuff. It's just basically what we talk about in the Historical Commission, which is the exterior. We don't get into any of the interior issues or any of the,
Oh, those are all exterior too, but they made restrictions on gutters and windows.
but that would be up to the study committee to determine what they want those to be.
Okay, could
So
I?
Gloria, I want to speak, Gloria, I interrupted Gloria. So Gloria, if you want to finish, and then if I could.
I was finished. That's what I say. I know they've done this and they've posted, a fair amount of documentation that most people don't, but I don't know, how how many times I've tried to add to it, whether it's been a successful
So-
process.
Can I make a suggestion, Jeff?
Right.
You can go on the town website and look at their meeting minutes, and that might give you a flavor of how it was received in the town.
Okay.
It's very easy to find.
So I think, I think I know how to do it right. I think we're, I
Excuse me.
think we,
Pardon my
what,
guffaw.
we have a neighborhood, that's excited to do it, right? And all we have to do is get out of the way and pave the process, and let them set the rules, let them do their advocacy, and it'll be, that's a way that it will be well perceived by town meeting, and if it's perceived well by the grassroots, town meeting piece, the selectmen will be behind it. So if I would like to
Question.
get some feedback on what you've presented and what you started in the discussion,
Question.
right? I think this
Question.
is so excellent. The flow chart. I am in total support. It just spells it right out. And I'm in support of doing anything, that's easiest to get through this process. So
Question.
Okay,
Yeah.
could I suggest that we let Laura and Don talk about the research that they have done? Rick's, because you started to speak before I did what I should have done at the beginning, which is let's let them talk about the work they've done, and then we'll see where we can fit into it and want to go with it as a group. Go ahead, Rick. Rick? You just went away. Are you mad at us?
I'm
The
back, Rick.
question, what neighborhood is gung ho?
That question to Jeff.
what?
Is that
Generally.
question to Jeff? Or to whom?
Generally,
I didn't hear
there's a
the
statement
question.
made that there was a neighborhood who was gung ho. Which neighborhood is that?
Warren Street.
No, they are.
No.
Oh, no,
We
they are
don't
not.
know that yet.
We don't
We don't
know
know that
that.
yet.
Okay,
We
so.
we know they're
I
interested
actually-
in doing something, but not yet what they want to do.
Right.
I just ran into Sam and the Graves on yesterday at church, and they still spoke positive. They spoke to me about it and spoke positively, and I told them that we're beginning talking about the structure and the process, and it's
And I think
top
that
of our
what we need
agenda.
to do is talk about the structure and the
Yeah,
process.
but they don't yet know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
let's-
They
think it's
talked about
premature.
their neighborhood. I asked if their neighborhood was unified. Okay, that was my one question specifically, and she said absolutely. consensus.
Dawn?
That
I'm
is
sorry,
very
John.
good to know, but let's let Don and Laura continue their presentation and their ideas, because they've done so much work on this, and see whether this is something that we can get behind, or we need to do something else. We agreed the last time that we want to move on this when I
Yeah.
took a poll. Yes, so
And Dawn, I think that identifying the district is a little premature at this point. Is that
Yes,
fair to say? Yeah.
yes, it would be part of the, I'm sorry, it would be part of the study committee to come to that.
I agree, and I didn't make any, leaning when I talked to the Graves about that. I said that there were several districts that were being discussed. So I made no promises in that regard to them.
And nor should you, because it's
Right.
not part of the commission to be doing this. This will be the study committee's area of decision or recommendation. I think if we have three things to do. What do we want to call this? Do we want to be the nominating organization? And then how do we go about, or have the subcommittee go about in gathering what needs to be presented to the select board to make them be able to take the next step?
So should we ask Dawn should we just confirm what we think? Could we make a recommendation on what we think the name of it should be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that, well, from my perspective, after looking at a lot of this stuff, I would go with the local historic district, because it it has a presence within the law. It's also what this process is intended to do. The local preservation district, or the local conservation district, or the local whatever district isn't really giving it, at least in my opinion, the force that it needs to have legally, because the reason why we're doing this is to put a stronger position in for historic preservation rather than relying on the demolition delay.
I agree with that. Do we need to do like a vote on that?
I would
or
like to make a
ask-
motion then, because I strongly feel about that, I mean, that's for for consistency's sake, just saving paper. You made this flow chart with the local historic district flow, right? It's simple, it's consistent, it speaks for what it is. Absolutely right. And I would like to say that the historical commission, it would be the nominating organization with the subcommittee, assigned to, to follow through with that as being, that, right? Those are the first steps, I see the next steps is a study committee should be, and I don't know if we get to spell out who that be, because, a lot of times
No.
in town meeting, selectmen, the study committees are defined, as, one or two representatives from, say, from the historic commission, one from, some other, planning board, or several from the community with a builder, you know what I mean? That study committee could be earmarked in structure like that. And maybe,
Are these,
do
just a question on process, are these separate motions? One would be for us to decide on the name, the other for us to decide on whether we are the nominating organization?
probably, it's probably good that our secretary organizes this that way, and we get on voting on documented things, so.
Not to make too much of a pun here, but should we go through the motions?
Rose, you're on mute.
Dylan, I think you're right. I think that we're talking about two different things, and we need to do one thing at a time, right, Don?
I have in my notes that Jeff moved to officially name the planned districts local historic districts to ensure the proper naming and legal representation.
Well, I think actually Don moved
Or is,
to
or is
do
that
that.
Dawn that moved? Okay, all right.
I think so. Is that right, Don?
But,
Yes.
okay.
Sorry,
And then
Gloria,
Gloria has her hand up and so has Rick. So let's give them a moment, each of them a moment to talk. Gloria.
No, actually, it's just a question. Is there a functional difference between something like a neighborhood preservation district and a local historic district, or is it just semantics?
No, in one town, and I don't have it right in front of me, but they do make the distinction between the two. That the local historic district basically has teeth. That it has more of a legal function than the preservation district. But I would have to get the specific information for you if you'd like.
So there is actually a functional difference between them.
At least in one
Legal
town.
difference. Okay.
Okay. And Rick,
Yeah, that was my question as well, in that my initial reaction would be something that was more palatable and attractive would be a historical neighborhood, historical preservation district. And probably there's nothing in law that separates a neighborhood district from a historical. It's just nomenclature, and whatever powers they assign to it is what is assigned to it. I think it would be very much palatable and attractive to people hearing it for the first time as a historical neighborhood preservation district.
Does Rick, and you're thinking then, would that eliminate an individual building from being, or an individual house for being a historic district?
No, I mean, that's what we would title it, but like Wellesley, you can, when you write it up and design it, you can designate a house or a building to be part of that.
Yeah. Just to continue, my thinking was, if you have national historic districts, state historic districts, why not a local historic district? So
I agree.
Rick, go ahead. Do you have your hand up again?
Now
Gloria.
I'm trying to take it down.
Oh, okay, Gloria.
It's not letting me.
No, every time you push it, it resets.
No, I'm trying to, it says lower hand, and when I do it, there we go. There we go.
I just wanted to note that on Wellesley's website, they do make a legal distinction between the two. So that is, and Wellesley uses neighborhood conservation district as their structure. So
But the,
if we did deviate from neighborhood, from local historic district, we probably have to be very careful to make sure that we're not actually creating a different kind of entity than we think we are.
hey, look,
Gloria,
Gloria,
I'm on their website now and I don't see that. I see districts and I see local historic district study committees. I don't see that reference.
Okay, so here is a matter that we have to investigate right away. And the suggestion was made that we form a subcommittee, obviously with fewer than 4 people, so that we can move to the next steps, decide what we want to be called, what the parameters are around legal issues, and what we should be doing next.
point of
and
order,
Yes.
point of
Yes,
order.
go ahead.
There's a motion on the floor, is there not? That's been seconded. This is part of the discussion. Is it not? So before we come up to anything else, don't we have to resolve this one? Right? We're in the discussion phase of the motion.
Well, we had a motion about the name of the of what to name it. So, right.
That's the motion on the floor, what to name it. Don made the motion to name it a local historic district. All right. And it was seconded. I spoke in support of it. And and Rick spoke spoke against it. So there's a discussion on the floor in regards to that. And before I in response to Rick's discussion point, I'm still in support of Don's motion because I think it's simpler, you know, to keep the language consistent with the state language, you know, and the federal language. And the state bylaws, Gloria, you know, from that workshop, they talked about, you know, there's a local historic district, how if the process and how that's empowered. If there's a local preservation neighborhood thing that someone wants to name it differently, wouldn't we have to name it in the bylaws that it has the same power and obligation as a local historic district to comply with sort of the state statute? So again, that complicates things by just putting another name in there for understanding. So I'm voting and asking other people. I think it's to keep it simple, is to name it a local historic district, as Don suggested.
I'm less worried about keeping it simple than I am about keeping it legal. And I would like, you know, what we do to reflect what we wanted to do. Laura, since I can't post to the chat, it's wellesleymass.gov/750/neighborhood-conservation-districts. And they specify that it's an area that might not be eligible for designation as an historic district. So I think they're seeing.
You're on mute, Laura.
I think they're seeing it as a different entity, and that's something we need to be aware of if we do think about, you know.
I'm sorry, I'm on this website and I have the link here, and they have their own web page. They have a Historic District Commission. They have applications under review. They have local historic district study committees for 2 areas in town, 323 Washington Street and the Belvedere Estates. And that link I just sent to, I think, Gloria. I don't know how to share it. I don't know if it's
So
worth
those
doing.
study committees are in that flow. They're starting the process for those districts to be designated. So they've created a study committee for those
Right.
properties, right?
Right, Jeff. We're just speaking to the name of what is happening in Wellesley, and from what I see, it appears to be local historic districts, and they have their own commission on it. They've already established that sort of subcommittee. But I could be reading this completely wrong. So if people aren't comfortable, then I can send the
No,
link.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think they use both. I think they have both entities with different.
Okay, I don't see the other one.
With different functions. I can't share the link, unfortunately. I can email it to you.
Okay, well, I guess we just need to decide what, if we're not all comfortable with local historic district, then we need to talk about it, because that's a motion. And if we are, great. If we're not, then we need to discuss other alternatives and come to a decision or table it for the next meeting.
Yes, Rick, I see you.
Suggest that we find out from the Secretary of State's office exactly.
I'm not hearing that.
You're muted a lot, Rick.
There's a reverb.
Yeah,
I suggest
reverb
we-
is better.
Your voice is not coming through.
Can I point out that in the establishing a local historic district, that term is used throughout? I mean, right, Don?
Yes.
I mean,
Don.
Yeah,
Go
it is,
ahead.
but perhaps for us to maybe advance this, maybe we can kick that little can down the road a bit and could be part of what the study committee comes up with as part of their report. I think what we want to try to do is perhaps decide at this point that we as a commission are interested in creating some kind of preservation / conservation / historic district. And then we need to get something to the board of, to the select board. What it's called perhaps maybe doesn't need to be decided at this point.
I'm sorry, I'm comfortable with that. Again, I have an opportunity, if there's a motion on the floor, I think it's a well-researched and vetted process, going to the sources I think it's the simplest solution. And if, as a committee, I think that's the one thing that we should be able to do is take that first step and name that, and then take the second step and appoint our nominate, maybe we could have a larger discussion around the nominating committee, whether should it be just within this committee, or do we involve the selectmen to make an appointment to that? But I think we should think about maintaining some level of control as a commission, because of helping the process go along, as well as we're the experts. So our representation in the nominating committee and in the study committee is imperative. So, and I really feel strongly that I would love to see us take that at least one first step tonight, and get this process started, and not process it to death and put us in inaction. I like action. That's how I feel. And I'd like to vote on this if people don't agree with me and they want to discuss this more, then we need to vote. It needs to be done in a vote, because there's a motion on the floor and it needs to get voted down. That's the process, right? If I'm correct.
Okay, in that case, yes, Don, go ahead.
Can I take back my motion? No.
I don't know,
Which
there should
one?
be a delete button for everything.
It's
Which
been
motion?
seconded. It's been
Don,
seconded.
I don't think we should get hung up on the name of this thing. It'll stop us from moving forward. We've been talking about this thing for 3 years. We need to move forward. If no one
That's right.
wants
So
to agree on
there's
the
a
name
motion on the
tonight,
floor. You can't. It's
We
been
vote.
seconded. You can't remove. I don't think you can remove it. You can vote against it, Don, but you can't. I don't think you can remove the motion.
Okay, in that case, let us call for a vote and find out where we stand on this. And I will start first with you, Don.
No.
Rick? Okay, I can read lips.
what did
Gloria?
Rick say? I didn't hear that.
He
I
said
can't
no.
see Rick.
Rick
He
said
said no
no.
to the name.
Yes. Laura?
Okay. I say yes.
Okay. Gloria?
No.
Okay, and Dylan?
Yes.
Okay, so we have.
Did you
two
take
yes-
my vote?
And Jeff, I know what your vote, go ahead,
You know what my vote is, but you didn't
No.
ask me.
but go ahead, yes,
Aye.
okay. So, and I vote no. So that we have, Dylan, help me here. I see 3 yeses and 4 nos, is that right?
I think that's right.
Yes, I think it is too. Okay, so that has been voted down. But we do want to move forward with this. We want to make some action. And one of the things that Don suggested and Laura suggested was that we appoint a committee a subcommittee to go off and take a look at this and come up with what our next steps should be. And that could be the next meeting. Okay, go ahead, Rick, try again.
Of information.
No, we
Rick,
can't hear you.
We
Yeah.
cannot hear you.
Information.
No,
Appointed
it's- you're-
inform-
It's not the
Yes.
volume. There's some static coming through, Rick.
Yeah. Just to make a note from my experience with the trustees, if you appoint a subcommittee, you have to take notes, even if it's less than 3 people. If it's an official subcommittee performing business, you have to make notes and post it on the town website, just an FYI.
I think I
Okay,
got
thank you.
that. Yeah, I
Post,
think I got,
Rick, post the notes or post the meetings? Or both? Both?
If it's three, it's a quorum, right?
No,
Committee, it's an official subcommittee. It has nothing to do with the quorum. You named an official subcommittee.
So three is a quorum, and then you can't, that's a public meeting law. So it has to be
Or-
a subcommittee of two.
Has to be if you have an official subcommittee, you've officially designated a subcommittee, you have to have it posted in notes. One person.
I understand that what you are saying in a gravelly voice, Rick, is that regardless of the size of the subcommittee, it must post notes on the town website because it's an official subcommittee, which this would certainly be.
I have a question. Is the intention for the subcommittee to be comprised only of people from this commission or from people from in and out of this commission?
For an example, the Arts and Exhibitions Committee of the Trustees is an official subcommittee. It's made up of one trustee and the rest are community. They have to post their notes.
Okay, Don, go ahead.
What if we don't call ourselves a subcommittee and Laura and I continue to work as we have been working to try to pull together information in regard to what is needed for the nominating process for the select board?
And we could call you the nominating committee.
Don't just call us Don and Laura.
The dynamic duo.
Yeah. Laura, what
We
do you
need a
think?
motion for that or?
No.
No, because it's not going to be an official subcommittee. We're simply asking Don and Laura to continue their work, call on members of the commission as they need to get information that will help. And also note that one of the third thing on the left-hand side is a conversation. I just lost my glasses. The study committee has to at some point meet with the Mass Historical Commission staff.
Right.
One of the things that the Mass Historical Commission today asked was whether Jennifer Doherty, with the right spelling, has asked that I send her the name, all of your names and your emails so that she can add you to the Mass Historical mail list so that you'll know what's going on. Don't know whether you have any objection to that. That's in new business. Never mind. Never mind. Okay, so are we then agreed that Don and Laura will continue with help from anyone that they choose to call upon, and we'll come up with a suggestion about our next steps and how we go to the select board and how we negotiate the rocks and shoals so that we don't want the select board to go away and say, well, we have to study this some more. We want to give them all of the answers that we possibly can. Okay, Rick, is your hand up again? Okay. Okay. So what we are going to do then is simply continue as we have been. Now, in listening to the minutes, one of the things that I discovered, and I'm as bad as everyone else, we decided that we would come up with an elevator speech, each of us, so that we would be able to present our idea to anyone on the select board or any group that asks us what we are doing with this historic district move. And I don't think that anyone turned one in. I know I didn't. But I think that for the next meeting, we could see whether there will be 7 different versions, but that's okay. 3 sentences, no more, between floors 1 and 2.
Rose, could I just
Yeah.
ask Kristen to take down that screen share
Sure.
so that we can see everybody?
Each other. Okay. Yes, Gloria, go ahead.
Thank you.
I would suggest we wait on anything like an elevator speech until we see a little bit more about what Laura and Don are proposing.
Okay.
I mean,
I
at this
agree.
point, it's hard for us to say what
That's
we're
fine.
thinking while we're still, considering what we're thinking.
I
Right.
agree 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So not to put the two of you in any hot seat, but what what will we expect to hear from you the next time? Do you have any idea at this point?
I mean, my thought would be for us to start researching how to actually, how I want to know, I don't understand I want to understand better what the select board would need to hear from us. And also we have to discuss the name. Don, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think we need some input from either current members of the select board or former members of the select board, just to get some idea of the somewhat of an idea of the inner workings that the kind of information that they would expect for such a nomination.
I would suggest Mo Handel, obviously, because he has an interest in historic preservation and in this process. And also Dan Matthews, because he's far and away the most experienced parliamentarian on the select board and would probably be able to give you the most thorough advice about, you take this to town meeting, what's town meeting going to say?
So this is
Right.
very interesting, because Dan, who I'm in some ways disappointed he's not running for re-election. I don't know if you all know that, but he probably would have been, and he'll be a great source of information. But he might have been one of our strongest opponents on the select board had we brought this to them, in several years. So it'll be interesting getting his consult, knowing that I think his background is that he was somewhat resistant or at least cautious about one of these things. Okay, and maybe he'll give us some insights into some of the other people, because I can't imagine that Matt Borelli is a support in this. So I would want to be careful how we get this information to the select board before there's a groundswell of a groundswell of support.
No,
Okay,
Jeff,
we need
we're not talking about giving any information or anything like that, because that would be like, we would need all of you to we'd all have to talk about this. This is more about how do we go about this? What information are they going to be looking for? Like, how do we present this? That's really what it is. Just so you know, we would never take a step past that without a committee or a commission.
I know, but people read between the lines, and then all of a sudden you've played your hand, and that's what I worry about.
Listen, that's politics, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not
Right,
sure,
so-
actually, Jeff, your assessment is necessarily accurate. But I also think, whatever Dan's actual opinion of the proposal is, he has got the best knowledge of the process.
Right.
Mhm,
Absolutely.
And that's what we need right now.
mhm. Yep. Okay, so I think we can leave this particular issue because we've had, I think, a substantive discussion about it. At least a noisy one, right? But anyhow, I think that we are on the way here. Now, we had this absolutely wonderful idea that we were going to, I'll do this very briefly. We had a wonderful idea that we would write to all of the people who are new owners of historic houses and tell them about their house. And this would work so well. Well, it didn't. What I would like to do is just tell you what has happened. Don found his house was not a new purchase. It was simply refinanced. And you end up in the registry if you refinance. Laura's was fine.
No,
Mine,
I think it was the other way around, Rose.
okay, go ahead. Tell
Uh,
me.
I think so. What I did was I checked the registry because the tax bills, the tax
Mhm.
assessor's records are
Yes.
dated, right? So then I
Mhm.
went on the Norfolk registry and found out that there had been, a different transaction after the tax assessor's
The
records.
one that we got from Chuck
Yes.
Davis. And
Yes.
interestingly enough, they're both Smiths,
Yes,
both owners.
perhaps a relative, not sure, but the point is we can't rely on assessor records because they're dated. So we need to do more research if we're going to find out the current owners of these homes. So we can get what we get from the assessor's office, but then step 2 is just making sure there's been no recent transactions. Because there was a purchase in August of 21 on my home, and it was a different owner, albeit the same last name. And so
Mhm.
the letter wouldn't have applied. So
Right.
if it were sent to the, yeah.
Exactly.
yes,
And
Jeff has.
And I had the interesting situation of having one of the houses that's on our list, but there is nothing in Macris for it. So, Jeff, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, the house that I was assigned,
Mhm.
it was, one sold 7 years ago. And was preserved, renovated and preserved by little pink houses. I was assigned, old Ed Gagnon's house.
Mhm.
Right, but yet the house that I was volunteering to do was the 1019 Central Avenue, the something Orr House, right, which just sold just 2 years ago. And it's, that's historic on the register house, and that wasn't in the list from the assessor. It's certainly enough time, for that paperwork to, I know things are delayed. I've paid taxes on houses that, didn't, the previous owner's name showed up for a year. It takes them a while before, they sort of change the printouts or something, but certainly that's enough time for that to get information to us. It'd be nice if we could get, after we get this process sort of formalized and we get our letter all set, we could get this letter to somebody within 6 months of their purchasing and moving into the home, right? Wouldn't that be a goal?
Yep. That is the goal. That is the goal. And we are going to have to refine the process because it isn't working the way that we thought it would. And Kristen, the reason you haven't received anything from us is we don't have any letters yet. So moving on, because it's really getting late. The next thing I would like to do is just talk briefly about the Nuwari statement. We have wonderful summary of the 2 ways that the historical commission can support the town. And all we really need is an introductory sentence. And I suggest something, and by the way, when I write something, I have no ego. Writing is rewriting. So if you don't like this, just let me know. I know you will. Needham Historical Commission supports the goals of Needham United Against Racism initiative and proposes 2 ways to help this important effort. And then number 1 is the greater diversity. And then, sorry about that. And then the second one is the historic inventory and the historic narrative that I have given you. And that could just be sent off to the select board and we'd be done with Nuwari. Not that we're done with the issue, but would then have given them a response.
Rose, I'm
Objection?
sorry.
Yes.
Question, Rose. What, do you think it's worth mentioning that we requested and had the attendance of a new RE member?
Actually, the chair of the committee.
Right. I
yes.
feel like they should know that we reached out and we were proactive and we asked for them to come. Right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an excellent idea.
Oh,
and
thank
as a
you,
mat-
Rose.
And as a matter of fact, Kate commented that Mary Ann had left her meeting to come to our meeting, which I thought was kind of neat. So
Hey,
I
I
will
believe, Rose,
ahead.
I believe she also said that no one had, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I think she also said no one had yet asked,
what it means.
no,
Yes.
asked any of their board members to come to a meeting. Am I making that up? It could have been CPC. I don't know.
No,
I feel
think
like
you're
she
right.
said that.
I think she
you're
said
right.
that. Yeah.
And I think
But
most committees just basically said, sent in a statement saying, yes, we support this, and left it at that.
Right, but we took
Right.
an extra step and we need to make sure they know that.
We do. Okay, so I will rewrite this and send it all to you. And then if it's fine, it just gets sent off to the select board and life is taken care of. Now, the final thing on the Tolman Gay House, we don't have any idea what is going on there. I put together a little bit of stuff about it and noted that it's on the National Register and in the state list and the town list. But what do we really want? Do we want to meet with them? Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
I ran into current owners. I ran into Owen Minot walking his dog. In
Jeff,
a
you seem
neighborhood.
to randomly run into all these people that are interesting to us.
Well, I live in
Sorry.
I live in the neighborhood, right? I was sort of, I went for a walk, so I walked by just to check on the progress of the house next to Newman, right? Which right. So and then I walked through the backwoods of Newman and do the loop back to my house, and I ran into Owen walking his dog. And I don't even walk that often, it was a random day that I decided to just do that loop. And I haven't seen him in years. He's a social worker, so, and I know places that he worked and people he's worked with. So when we ran each other talking, and I said, so I hear I said, I heard you're selling your house. And he's like, wow, word gets around. How'd you know? Well, I explained to him that I, heard and that, and he was, I guess the developer's inquiring, they don't have anything formal. And he said, of course, they're going to make every effort to sell it to somebody who won't tear it down. And and then I kind of hinted at, there are things you can do, but it will certainly impact on, its sellability or things like that. And he goes, oh, we don't want to get involved with that involved, So that's all I know. I didn't go farther than that, but I mean, they're not in a hurry. They're just moving out of town, and they have another house on the North Shore, that they've vacation to. So now they'll move there full time, and
Mhm.
so there's not a hurry for them.
Okay,
But
do we want to tell them about the history of the house? Do they know it? Should the letter be sent and ask them whether or not they want to know more about it? So the letter pretty much says just about everything.
that can't. I guess it can't be harmful, right? It's just how much do they know? I mean, they shouldn't. I mean, he spoke about its preservation was important to him, somewhat, and he must know something about it, right?
Okay, well, Jeff, okay, to start the letter with, you were talking with Jeff Heller about your house and, or would you prefer that? And
You
not?
know, maybe it's just come to our attention as a commission that,
Yep.
there are interested parties, inquiring about your property,
Okay, fine. I'll do that.
And if you want to say, if you want to lead into saying, we understand that, certainly preservation of the home is your first interest, having, you could reference that, my conversation that way.
Mhm.
And then it leads open to, do you want more information of the real significance? If you're,
Okay. All righty, I will do a rewrite and send it around. Getting to new business, I had a wonderful meeting with Kate Fitzpatrick and Dave Davison about our budget, and then one that was with FinCom, and it was very pleasant. Rick Lunetta asked how many signs, date signs we had put on houses in the past year. And I allowed us out none. And that's just the way things go. You're muted.
That's not true, actually.
Oh, go ahead, tell me.
Probably done about 5 or 6.
Oh.
But the commission doesn't pay for them.
Right,
The homeowner pays for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it would be, I'm not going to go back to him and say, I was wrong. He can find out that I was wrong. Some other point.
Toss them in next year's annual report.
Yes, exactly. Ooh,
Rose,
ooh,
I'm
good.
guessing if it doesn't cost them money,
Well,
they're fine.
that information is a matter of public record right now. It's on the minutes.
Yep,
There you
that's
go.
true. That's true. And also I realized when Don sent me a thing about money that the state pays for historic preservation, that I really needed to be part of Mass Historical Listserv. And when I wrote to Jennifer Doherty and told her, she put me on the list, and then she said she would like all of your names and emails so she can put all of you on the list. I know, Don, you're on the list already, and Gloria, you are. But the rest of you, if you want to get more email, does
That's
anyone
fine.
want to be added?
Rick, you're on as well,
I
right?
would.
Yes.
MHC, yeah, Rick's on as well.
Okay,
I'm happily give you my permission.
thank you.
I would
Okay,
too, Rose.
okay, excellent. Excellent. The fact that we're all interested is probably going to sit very well with Mass Historical Commission, right? Okay. Does anyone else have new business? Yes, Rick.
Did you see the email that I sent you this afternoon?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. And I have already taken a look at the house. Why don't you tell people?
Yeah.
What
So
happened?
we got well, again, someone was referred to me by the building commission. Again, they still haven't updated themselves as to who to send the referral to, but it was somebody who was attending an open house, 28 Wyoming Street, Wyoming Ave, the John Minchin Frederick Broadway L house, as apparently on the market. And he was attending an open house, and the realtor, whoever it was, he didn't say, indicated to him that it's on the inventory. Because he would, when he looked at it, he was looking at tearing it down to build a modern house. So he had reached out to us, reached out to me after talking to the building department about what's the story. So that's the gist of the email. So the house is on the market. This person was interested, but obviously hadn't made an offer. But the realtor had told him that it's on the inventory. So kudos to that realtor, because they're up.
That's good.
That
Is
person's
it
up
on
to
the
speed.
inventory?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
I'm looking at
Yes,
the
it
map
is.
list right now.
Yes, 1864.
1864 Greek Revival.
Yep,
or
Yep.
Italianate, depends on
It's
which
the,
paragraph you read.
yep.
It's the,
Foundation. Yeah, ask folks.
weather, is that the Wetherell's house? I think it's the
I don't
Wetherell's
know.
house.
Nice
Which
picture,
house?
it's a colored picture too.
Wetherell?
Okay.
Right
Yeah,
next
Ward
to
Nancy
Mary
Wetherell.
Park.
Yeah.
I think it's 139 on our inventory.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
what is your recommendation for us? Should we reach out to, we have to respond to the man who asked our chair. And,
Old chair.
but should we,
Once
Broken
chair, always chair.
Yeah,
Broken chair.
exactly.
Broken
exactly,
chair.
Like an English teacher, you never stop, ever. Okay. Okay, so Rick, since he reached out to you, do you want to respond to him or you want me to respond to him?
Well, I can respond and then just indicate that, I'm not the chair presently and that you are the head. So I'll give him the detail, and if he has any further questions, he could reach out.
Right, okay. And while we're on the subject of, well, this was kind of a subject of email. I have heard from Kristen that we cannot have a town email. However, we can, of course, always have a Needham Historical Commission at gmail.com. And that at least is not a personal email, and it looks a little bit more official than having either my email or Dylan's email. It's not very good. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Are you all tired of this meeting? It's
Yeah.
been a long one.
But then if you have an account like that, then it has to be passed on, has to be monitored, has to be passed on. So
I think we should just leave things the way they are, Rose.
Okay, but for now, because we're not
Yeah.
sending out any letters right now. But it's
Yeah.
something we need to consider down the road. And what you do is have the Needham Historical Commission linked to whoever the chair is, so that it always comes in to the chair. I mean, I've done that for ages for nonprofits.
Yeah.
that I
That's
was
kind
on.
of disappointing because I know the Housing Commission has an email. It might be something at another point in time to kind of push a little bit.
Ask again. Yes,
Yeah,
never hurts
yeah.
to ask again.
right.
Just keep asking. Okay, we'll do that. It is almost 8:30. I think I am ready for my tea. How about you guys? Unless you've got something to. Oh, okay. I think it was actually a very productive meeting, and I thank you all. And look forward to January 10th, which is our next meeting.
January 10th. Okay.
Yes. Okay, and by the way, the September minutes have all of the dates. And also we now have an agenda tab on the town website. So that if you get to the point where meeting is in 5 minutes and I don't know where the URL is, all you have to do is go to the agenda on the town website and will be printed on the agenda. Okay? Okay. Anyhow, may I have a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor? Rick?
Aye.
Okay, Dylan,
Aye.
Gloria,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Don,
aye.
Laura, and
Aye.
I vote time for tea also.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you.
Thanks,
welcome.
Rose.
Thank you, Laura and Don. You guys did an awesome job. That's a really.
Yes, really.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
all done.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, Laura.
The dynamic duo.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
good night, all.
Happy holidays.
Oh, yes,
Same
thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you. I forgot to say that.
Same
Kristen?
to you.
Kristen?
Thank you, Kristen. Is she
Yes,
still there?
yes, I'm right here. Sorry.
Thank you,
We are
Kristen.
all done.
Okay.
Thank you
All right,
very
I'm gonna
much.
stop recording.
Okay.